This morning, let's explore expecting, needing, and conniving. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two, but first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about meditation, or philosophy, or even chanting, there is no need to be shy. Simply type your question in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen if you're on the Tube app. Otherwise, you'll want to type your question below. If you like to follow along and you want to see the text that I'm working with, then you'll want to head over to, if you're on the Clock app, you'll want to go to my profile and play with the links there. This morning I'm teaching from the 20th quatrain of Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones. This is the final meditation manual attributed to a great Tibetan saint of the late 1800s, Dzogchen Rinpoche. This text has been translated by the Padmakara group. It has been adapted and amplified by yours truly. Good morning, Donnie. By the way, this is one of my favorite passages. This passage grabs me by the lapels and gives me a good shake. Expecting a lot from people, you do a lot of smiling. Needing many things for yourself, you have many needs to meet. Making plans to do first this and that, your mind is full of hopes and fears. From now on, come what may, do not be like that. We see this in movies. Both live movies and animated movies, where a child or several children will ask their parent for something. The parent says no, and then they repeat it and say with word please, while plastering on a smile and sad eyes simultaneously. And that often breaks the parent's heart, and they often acquiesce. I'm not a parent. I can't say whether that's good, bad, but it makes for good, entertainment value. And to a certain extent, many of us are raised to be somewhat manipulative. We're taught by parents and society and institutions that if our verbiage and our delivery is just so, it will increase the chance of us getting what we want, when we want it, for as long as we want it. In late-stage capitalism, that is lauded. By the way, good morning, Bomb 8. If I'm squinting, I'm just trying to read. It's very small font. So anyway, but does that attitude, does that way of living give us the peace that we desire? The answer, I think, is found if we look at the Four Noble Truths from a certain point of view. What is the first noble truth? Well, ask a biologist. They will tell you that there are stressors. That's what it's called in biology. There are stressors. Some are circumstantial, some are physical, some are interpersonal, and some are mental. All of them. Our ability to perceive all stressors is rooted in our evolutionary need for survival. To survive long enough to pass on our genetic material. Therefore, this is a deep primal need, neurologically speaking. And if we just poo-poo our needs or ignore our needs, it will end very badly for us. The second noble truth is this. While it is true that many of the stressors in our life are completely out of our control, we do have the ability to take whatever stressors are in our life and make them worse. How do we do that? By indulging our primal... my sign monitor is not set up. That's a bummer. By indulging the tyranny of our primal drives to shove and reach and cling and compete. When we indulge this, we seldom modify and improve our lives, and we often make them worse. Why is that? Well, in addition to our more ancient survival drives, as complex vertebrates upon this planet, as mammals, we have a secondary reward system that is not dopamine oriented but oxytocin oriented. It is the key not to reproduction but to emotional fulfillment. And that is most certainly undermined by indulging our more base survival needs. And does that mean we are to be doormats? No. It means we are to it means that there is a method to reconcile both reward systems in an entirely sustainable manner. That method is known colloquially as the Eightfold Path. It refers to harnessing our mind's active propensities through contemplation, harnessing our mind's passive propensities through meditation, and by choosing to be as kind as possible. Doing so will frees us from two toxic extremes of being absolutely controlling and manipulative or being completely scattered. That middle ground is not scattered spontaneity, but centered spontaneity. The centering that comes from playing with the Buddha's insight contemplations, love contemplations, as well as mindfulness and meditation, which is exactly what we're going to do this morning in just a few minutes. It's been my experience that playing with these exercises once every 12 hours liberates us from these two toxic extremes and strengthens our centered spontaneity, so that instead of being like the proverbial doormat, this centered spontaneity acts like a water and like a river. And back in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, lumberjacks in the Pacific Northwest would, instead of dragging felled trees through the forest to the sawmill, they would roll the trees down the hill into the river, and the river would float the lumber to the sawmill. And so what was going on was they were finding the most efficient way to get the job done. Similarly, the most efficient way, not to move lumber, but to work with our choices and our utterances and our deeds, our behavior, is instead of floating them like lumber upon a river towards a sawmill, floating them on a river of centered spontaneity, which flows automatically and which is enhanced by a therapeutic practice of contemplation and meditation. So the great irony is that if we embrace an effective contemplation and meditation practice about once every 12 hours or so, then the cultivation of our centered spontaneity takes place on autopilot. Welcome, my friends, to the lazy bastard path of enlightenment. One moment will I tend to that which functions as my side monitor. Okay. Every 12 hours, I broadcast a live meditation class without any ads. Other than this channel, with your help, this channel could support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you, and you'd like to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code, or you could simply click the donation links in the description area below the video. If you're on the Clock app, you can always play with the links in my profile. Let's play with the latest iteration of Kind Gaze's Easy Tantra. There are many archetypes of enlightenment that are played with in Tantric Buddhism. Kind Gaze, also known as Chenrezig, also known as Avalokiteshvara, is an open practice requiring no empowerments. And according to the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, the root text upon which this practice is based, not only is a complete path, but is very much like an elixir for reviving the dead. Don't worry, it will not zombify you. One moment while I blow my nose. Let's begin by chanting for empathy and enthusiasm through our practice of bodhicitta and taking refuge. To liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, may I rely upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. To liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, may I rely upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. To liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, May I rely upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. And now it's time for a bit of the old mantra meditation. This is known by many names, such as the creation stage, the antidote to hating, also known as the generation stage, also known as Mahayoga, also known as Mantra Yoga, also known as Dzogchen's Tokal, or Tantra Mahamudra. Let's review the meaning of the mantra. Om, I invoke the wish-fulfilling Mani, jewel of love and the purifying Pemi lotus of letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. So even though mantra meditation is a popular term, it's more accurately described as mantra contemplation. And contemplation is described as the second and the first of the eightfold path. This morning we're going to begin by contemplating love, universal love. Thereby we shall leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. As we chant the mantra, fearless of diamond rays were emitting from Athamnos horizontal execrable mantra rosary at our heart. Lavishing all minds, communication, bodies, and circumstances with peaceful wisdom, joyful love, beautiful health, and safe good fortune. So what we're going to do is bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of love. What are the 4 bases of mindfulness? The mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. We shall begin with the mental. Now, one of the key differences between Tantra and Sutra is that Tantra is merely Sutra, empowered by mantra, and explained with metaphor. So mantra and metaphor. May all minds of all beings know be as peaceful and wise as our Buddha's mind, symbolized by a one-syllable mantra known as a Siro Bija mantra. Sure, why not? Now, because I'm wearing a microphone, I don't think I can hear this person over yonder. So let's see. If I take this out. Hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Let's see here. Not sure how to fix that. There we go. All right. Let's move on. So we've recited 4 lines, and now we're going to condense that into a 1-line intention, a bija wise for all minds. So what we're going to do to really get the most out of our mantra meditation is during our inhalation, we're going to silently and mentally recite bija wise for all minds, wishing love. And during our exhalation, we're going to physically relax as best we can while chanting the mantra. Omani mimi hung, omani mimi hung, omani mimi hung, omani peme hung. Omani mimi hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung. Omani peme hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung. Omani peme hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung, omani peme hung. Please excuse the cracking of my voice. Postnasal drip is not my friend. May all relationships of all beings know be as joyful and loving as a Buddha's communication symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. These 4 lines condense into the single line, mantra love for all speech. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Now, a really good question would be, what has blending mantra with love contemplation have to do with the cultivation of centered spontaneity? Well, it would seem that the part of our brain responsible for empathy is much older than the part of our brain responsible for analytical reasoning. It has been observed that the more spontaneous our empathy flows, the better our brain works. Yes, when our prefrontal cortex is in partnership with the dungeon part of our brain, our basal ganglia, it may be clever. But it is only when our prefrontal cortex is in partnership with our anterior cingulate gyrus, our seat of empathy, the hub of our mirror neurons. It is only then that we are able to exchange mere cleverness for wisdom, big picture thinking. And so, yes, blending mantra recitation with contemplations of universal love will help us generate centered spontaneity. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health depicted in Buddhist art, of the blissful body of a Devi or Yidam of lore and archetype of enlightenment. Those 4 lines coalesce into, or condense, that's the word, condense into the single line, the single wish, Yidam health for all forms. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. Omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung, omani bimi hung. May all circumstances of all beings now be as safe and fortunate as a Buddha's paradise, pure land or vati of lore. And so what you may have been observing during our chanting is we're playing with synonyms. We'll take a technical Sanskrit or Tibetan term and translate it literally into English, and then translate it figuratively into English, so to make comprehension easier. Because we want to reconcile the 2 extremes of ease of comprehension, but proper use of nomenclature. It's been one of my teachers had a really good heart, and he tried to make things as easy to his students, but he failed to teach us the appropriate nomenclature. What basically metaphorically put bullseyes in our back for pseudo-spiritual dharma trolls, because we didn't know the terminology. It also made it difficult for us to study teachers and authors and books other than his. So what I try to do is learn from that mistake and teach both the technically appropriate term as well as the colloquially comprehensive term. Now let's play with the one-line coalescence. Vatibun for Allahs. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. An example of the folly of that very good-hearted teacher is he would teach us calling the Lama from afar without using the term calling the Lama from afar. And then when I would speak to other Dharma practitioners and they would refer to calling the Lama from afar, even though I was doing that already, I didn't know what they were talking to because I didn't have the terminology down. And that applied to many, many tantric practices. Let's continue. So we've played with love and letting go. And let me check for questions on the clock app. Good morning, Mike Ortega. Oh, you were born a year after me. Let's see. Okay. So now we're switching gears from love and mantra to letting go and mantra, whereby we shall leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. How is it that as we inhale, all mind's functions good seem quite clear, yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as ungraspable as the infinite azure sky on a bright and cloudless morn, or a bija of light. So I want to make an edit so the bottom of the page is prettier. There we go. Prettiness accomplished. So what are mind's functions? Well, mind can perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Mind can also emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. These 6 lines coalesce into the single-line rhetorical question, how minds clear yet void-like bija. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung, omani be me hung. Our second extensive rhetorical question is as follows. Whoops. Whoop. Editing debacle, folks. Editing debacle. Let's see if I can fix that. There we go. Thank you for your patience, and let's continue. Checking for questions, and let's move How is it that as we inhale the interpersonal experience of communication could sound quite resounding? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void or a mantra of light. So notice we replaced the term infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn with the phrase a vast empty void, because the cloudless sky is a wonderful example of a vast empty void. Let's take this six-line rhetorical question and reduce it down to one line. How speech heard yet, void-like mantra. Umani mimi hung umani mimi hung umani mimi hung umani pime hung. Umani mimi hung umani pime hung umani pime hung umani pime hung. Umani pime hung umani pime hung umani pime hung umani pime hung. Umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung. How is it that as we inhale, our bodies could feel quite sensual? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a yidam of light. Umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung. So those 6 lines coalesce as the one-line question, rhetorical question, how forms felt yet void like yidam. Checking for questions. Good morning, Jenk. Umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung. Umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung. Umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung umani baby hung. I need to bookmark. I need to bookmark a page for a future edit because I don't want to completely try your patience. So Control G, page 23. For people on the Tube app, the screen's going to go nuts. I apologize for that. Let me see if I can't straighten things out by tapping button 9. Okay. How is it that as we inhale, our circumstances could appear quite vivid, yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a vati of light? So how do these contemplations of letting go help us to develop or cultivate our centered spontaneity? So our brain is like a 3-pound moist supercomputer between our ears. Giving it things to play with, to help it to let go, to help it to relax, sets us up for not only more successful mindfulness and meditation, but helps us to more efficiently cultivate centered spontaneity. So these 5 lines coalesce into the single line rhetorical question, how lots seen, take 2, how lots seen yet void like vati. And we're using the word void as a metaphor of non-graspability, as we have inferred by our recitations this morning, that the reason we are able to associate void with non-graspability is we explored how sounds could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. So the vast empty void is not a metaphysical concept. It's simply a metaphor for non-graspability. It's easier to grab a ball than an absence of a ball. 10,000 golden retrievers can't all be wrong. How lots seen yet void like vati. Umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung. Umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung. Umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung, umani be me hung. This morning, my chanting is rather like a steady and postnasal drip, isn't it? Omani baby hung, omani baby hung, omani baby hung, omani baby hung. Attention would-be vocalists. Postnasal drip. Don't let it happen to you. Having blended contemplation of both love and letting go with the 6-syllable mantra, we're now ready to shift gears from contemplation to meditation and from the verbal to the silence. If you've just showed up, I would remind you that if you wish to look over my shoulder, digitally speaking, at this practice text for free, everything I do is free, just go to my profile and click the appropriate link to the Tube app. And if you've just joined us on the Tube app, I would remind you to type what questions occur to you pertaining to meditation and philosophy in the chat window. We're going to begin by silently contemplating the dance of impermanence and interdependence. We're going to do this figuratively. We're going to use the idea of melting as a metaphor of impermanence, and we're going to use the idea of absorption as the idea of interdependence. Because let's face it, anybody who's put a pat of butter on top of a pancake and seen it melt in has watched the patch of the pancake that absorbed the butter. It's a little teeny bit soggy. That is interdependence. That is causality. So, to the chagrin of my landlord, I've hung prayer flags, and they are tattered and ratty, and they're supposed to, because the wind and the rain erode that, and therefore the pretty colorful prayer flags become a demonstration of both impermanence and interdependence, or I should say interdependence which drives impermanence, which is really cool. So, for our first silent meditation, and this is going to be cryptic language, like 3 syllables during your in-breath and 3 syllables during your out-breath, and it's going to be based on the terminology we explored during our recitations, our pre-mantra recitations. So if you've just joined in, it may behoove you to drag the indicator bar to your left and start at the beginning if you're on the Tube app. If you're on the Clock app, well, you're in for a rocky ride. As opposed to Rocky Road, which is a delicious ice cream. Okay. Because who wouldn't want to put marshmallows and walnuts in their ice cream? Now, if it's only I could find vegan, cruelty-free Rocky Road, that would be a happy day indeed. Happy for the tongue, sad for the waistline. All lots melt into form. All forms melt into speech. You don't have to actively visualize this. If you just play with these words silently and mentally in harmony with your breathing and relaxing, everything will take care of itself. All speech melts into mind. All minds melt into void. For our first, so that was a silent contemplation. We now turn our minds to silent meditation. This is known whereby we are going to slice through our clinging tendencies. As we breathe in, we can mentally recite and notice this. As we breathe out, we could mentally recite relaxing. I recommend correcting your posture with every in-breath. So we're going to shift gears from our introduction to the slice through. And now we're going to camp out at our drop meditation, whereby we transcend the craving with Anu Yoga, also known as Dzogchen's Tikle, also known as Bindu Mahamudra. It's simple. Heart, free, grin, relaxing. And the grin is a subtle Mona Lisa affair, performed with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes. Heart, free, grin, relaxing. And once again, if you've just joined in, welcome. When you have questions, type them in the chat window. So it seems that Akin New Musa has joined. Welcome aboard. All right. I'm new to this feature, so can you hear me okay? Let's see. Okay. So, can you hear me? I can't hear you. So perhaps you can message me after the live stream and walk me through the process. Okay, so I'm going to put this jack here. And I'm not sure what to do with this now. Whoops. There we go. Okay, well that was a folly and absurdity. A study in absurdity. There we go. So I'm going to take a moment to climb upon my zafu, which is a circular meditation cushion. That'll work. Okay. Let us perform a silent contemplation of universal love. Bija wise for all minds. And check for questions real quick. I don't see any questions. Okay. Mantra love for all speech. Let us lovingly wish Yidam health for all forms. Let us lovingly wish Vati boon for all lots. Let us shift gears. We're still going to be performing silent contemplations. This time we were going to contemplate letting go. All lots seen yet, void like Vati. Ooh, that's an error on my part. I apologize. I should replace the word all with how. Let's see. Shift H-O-W. And if I'm clever, I'll copy that. And I'll put a question mark here. Do. How forms felt yet void like Yedam. How speech heard yet void like mantra. How minds clear yet void like bija. Let's hang out now for quite a while with the slice through, where we shall, with every inhalation, notice the play of mind, and with each exhalation, relax into its non-graspable nature. Oh, that was a boo-boo. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay. Let us begin to seal our practice with a bit of the old universal love. Bija wise for all minds. Mantra love for all speech. Yidam health for all forms. Let us conclude with 8 well wishes. May all the harm of modern non-humans and so forth be overcome. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. May they be thoroughly pacified. May all kinds of interferences, diseases, and possessing spirits be pacified. May all be separated from unfavorable conditions, and may all experience favorable conditions and everything excellent. Through this fortune may there be at this time happiness and health. May all my speech forms and lots be as wise, loving, healthy, and fortunate, as kind as Bija Mantra Yedam and Vati of Lord. May all beings like kind as Master being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness, flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May all beings like kind as master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate others. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help others do likewise. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness, May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately 10.25 hours, we could return to explore Survivor's Rage and meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.